everyone, it's Kim here and I'm bringing you a scrapbooking layout process video using Mintay Mamarazzi collection, which is available from Embellish It, my local scrapbooking store. This is a DT project. I did do this layout a little while ago and for some reason never posted it, so hopefully I remember exactly what I did. So I am using this beautiful lens paper with all the flowers as my background, and I'm currently painting up some Mintay chipboard using some Prima paints, acrylic paints, and they have a really beautiful shimmer in them. So I'm not quite sure. This is a very dark teal that I'm using here, and I am painting it on book paper, old book paper, because then when the excess paint's on the book paper, it can make really interesting additions to my collages when I do my art journaling pages, and I often use old book paper in those art journaling pages. So this is a really dark teal, green, blue colour that I'm using here. I will try and find the colours and post them in the description box below in case you're interested. But yes, it is pretty. And this chipboard is also from Mintay, and it had some frames and cameras and bits and pieces to do with photography and photos on it. So it's a 12 by 12 chipboard sheet and was also available at Embellish It. So I've painted both the camera and the frame in that colour. And then I believe I am going to... Nope, I think that's all the painting I'm doing for this particular layout. So, as I said, I'll have to apologise in advance if I'm not quite up with what's happening with the steps here, because I did make this layout a while ago. So trimming my selvage strip off to start with. I'm glad that's done. I have been having some problems with that lately. So the photos I'm scrapbooking are of my husband and I and my husband's parents when we went out for a lunch. And the place we had lunch at had this absolutely beautiful frame overlooking the countryside, which was gorgeous. Beautiful green rolling paddocks and trees. And what I'm doing is just making sure that the photos, cutting them down to the size to fit in these, they're like film strip shape pieces of pattern paper. So these were in a cut apart sheet that came with this collection. So what I wanted to do was make the photos look like they were negatives. Obviously negatives are not in these colours, but that's the effect I was going for. And so I have cut the photos down and they are going to fit into these negative pieces, which I've fussy cut from a sheet of pattern paper. There's also some really cool die cuts that come with this range. I love them. Now, what I end up deciding to do, once I sort of fiddle with this and get the layout right, I'm actually going to turn that smile picture frame into a shaker box, and you'll get to see that process there. So with the camera, it had some little hearts with it, and I am gluing one of the chipboard hearts on, and then in the die cuts there was a pink heart that was the same size as the chipboard heart. So I've glued the pink die cut heart onto the top of the lens in that chipboard camera, and I think that works really well. So I fussy cut, and there were die cut flowers, lots and lots of flowers. So I have added a significant number of flowers into that cluster at the top, and that is a big feature of this layout. And there I was just touching up the frame because I'd obviously hadn't dried properly and I had scratched some of the paint off it, so that's fine. Touch that up, all good. Doing a bit of a cleanup here. Always a good idea to clean up wet paint because you never know when you're going to end up with it all over you and over everything. So this is where I decide that I'm going to convert this frame into a shaker pocket. And I'm just looking at some sequins that I have in my stash. I went through a bit of a sequins phase, so I do have quite a few. And so I found these really pretty pink and yellow sequins, and I've got some of my absolute favourite champagne gold sequins, and so I have decided that I'm going to use a combination of these to make this shaker pocket. As I regularly do, I am backing the shaker pocket with acetate as well, so that when it is made, the pocket will actually be completely see-through, and you can then be able to look through the shaker pocket to the pattern paper that's behind the pocket. I'm just trimming around the frame to get the acetate to the right shape and size for it. I'm leaving out the hearts on this, but I am going through around the whole square piece. So I've just put some wet glue down, stuck that acetate down, just doing a little bit of a trim to make sure it's fitting properly. And then what I will do is use double-sided thin strips of foam. So I have foam that's very thin pre-cut pieces, and I will use that to build up the frame around for the shaker pocket, so that will give the depth for the sequins. So just sticking that all in. You want to make sure you've got very complete edging when you're doing shaker pockets, so that your sequins can't fall out everywhere out of your pocket and end up all through your albums. So just doing that now, making sure that there's no gaps and that it's nice and sealed up. It's a little bit fiddly, or it can be a little bit fiddly, but it's worth getting it nice and complete. And these foam strips, Embellish It, have a product similar to this, and they're very handy for doing shaker pockets because they're nice and thin. So there goes some gold sequins, and here are some pink and yellow ones. Now there are some seashells in this, so I'm just going to pick those out because that's not what I want for this layout. So I'm just picking out the things that are in this sequin mix that aren't appropriate. And then I'll end up with a beautiful mix of gold, yellow, pink and apricot colours, which just works so perfectly with this layout. And then once I'm happy that I've got enough sequins in here, I will just complete the other side of the pocket with another sheet of acetate and trim it so that it fits properly around that pocket, and then it will be ready to go. So, yeah, I really love the effect that this gives. I love sequins on scrapbooking layouts, and I love shaker pockets with that bit of movement. The good thing I like about this too is that they're not too bulky. These pockets aren't too bulky. It's quite, the foam tape gives you a little bit of depth without the whole pocket being really bulky on your layout. And frames like this chipboard frame are absolutely perfect for making shaker pockets. So I'm just a bit of a clean up here. Little bits of acetate get everywhere, and the frame will go on the layout in the same place that I had it before, but just with the added enhancement of the sequins. So I'm using some craft foam here, so it's adhesive on one side and not sticky on the other. So I just use wet glue to stick that foam down. It just gives a small amount of dimension to the items that you put it under. So I've got some under the pictures and some under some of these floral clusters, just to build them up a bit so there is a bit of dimension. A little bit more glue there, making sure things are going to stick down. The glue I use is art glitter glue. I have a fine tip dispenser on that bottle, so it gives out a nice thin stream of glue. And I think it works really well and has a really strong hold. And it has become my adhesive of choice for my scrapbooking. So I'm just getting everything sitting where it should. I've got a little mobile phone there to stick in as well. I don't know about you, but I certainly take most of my photos with a mobile phone these days, which is unfortunate because I do have a beautiful SLR camera, which I hardly ever use. So, yeah, I've become pretty lazy. My camera on my phone is excellent, so I do take most of my photos with my phone. So that die cut, the camera phone die cuts in your in the die cut pack with this collection, and so I've added that in as well, and I've put the second photo in and the little chipboard camera, which I love. And then I've got my title, which I'm also going to be putting in, and a few more flowers there in those clusters, or in that very large cluster at the top. Bit more glue. Sometimes it can be a bit hard to get stuff to stick onto acetate because it's so smooth and shiny, but that art glitter glue will hold. So if you've got the glue there, and then I find just to put a bit of pressure onto it, and that glue, once it grabs, it will hold onto the acetate. So just continuing to put some foam tape down on some of those flower clusters and finish building up that big cluster of flowers at the top. And then I have a piece of film strip that I've cut out of the cut apart sheet, and I believe that is very close to it on this layout. So I do have some close-up pictures coming up that you can see the detail of this layout. If you enjoyed this process video, it would be really appreciated if you could press like. And if you're not already a subscriber of mine, if you could subscribe to my channel, that would be fantastic. I would love to see you join me again here. I do regular process videos, sometimes not as regularly as I should, but there is a regular stream of process videos on my channel. Thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon. Bye. Thank you.